Louise here, and today I am so excited to be guest designing for Lawnfawn. Lawnfawn is one of my absolute favourite companies of all time, so I'm so excited I get to be a guest on their channel and make a fun card for you today. So for today's card, I'm going to be creating a box pop-up card. So I'm using the Ahoy Matey stamp set, along with the Ocean Wave Borders dies, the Slide On Over dies, the Circle Stackables dies, and also the Scalloped box card pop-up die. I love making these box cards. They are so super fun to make. Along with all of the stamps and dies, I'm going to be using quite a few inks, so the doe, black licorice, mermaid, peacock, sunflower, lobster, and also the jet black for all of my image stamping. Then I'll be using 3 colours of cardstock, the sunflower, cilantro, and the peacock cardstock as well. So I'm going to start off with cutting out all of my different pieces that I need for my box card, as well as a few of the other accents and whatnot that I'm going to add into my box die. So I'm going to first cut out 2 of these main box die pieces out of the cilantro cardstock. So I've cut down my piece into 4 1/4 inch wide strips, and that's going to fit one of these on easily, and also one of these little additional pieces that go inside your box, so you have somewhere to adhere your images. So I'm going to cut the main box die out of here once, and then one of these pieces out of here as well, and then I'm also going to cut an additional box die piece plus 2 extras of those middle pieces, since I want there to be 3 layers. I've also gone ahead and cut out a portion of that box die out of some peacock cardstock as well for the back, so I can have a blue sky. And then I'm going to take my Circle Stackables dies and just die cut out a edge on one of these sunflower pieces of cardstock, and I'm going to have that as sort of like a sandy bank in my box die. And I'm actually going to cut 2 of those. I'm going to cut another one of those after. Then I've just taken some white cardstock now and using the Ocean Wave border dies and cut out a piece of that as well, and I'm using white there because I didn't have a lighter blue cardstock. Then I also cut out 2 of the squares with the stitch detailings for the side of my box, and then one of the rectangular pieces for the front of my box for my sentiments. Now I'm going ahead and using the inks. So this is the doe ink, and I'm just using an ink blending tool and going around each of the edges and just blending on some colour. And I'm just doing that because when I use plain cardstock, I like there to be sort of some variation and a gradient. So I'm just going to be ink blending on some of the colour onto these pieces just to give it a little bit of extra. So now I'm using the sunflower ink to ink blend onto some of the sunflower cardstock, and this just again gives a little bit of a gradient and gives a little bit of extra dimension and depth to the plain cardstock. Then I'm doing the same thing here for the peacock layer as well. And then I'm going to pull out the mermaid ink and this little white wave piece here, and I'm just going to completely cover this in mermaid ink. So I'm just going with a really light hand and blending into the white piece here, and it doesn't matter if it's a little bit splotchy since you're not really going to see this much anyway. And then I'm going to take the Slide On Over dies, and I'm going to die cut this little straight border out of the middle of this piece towards the top, and that's because I'm going to add a little slider element to this box card as well. I just thought that would be super fun to add a little bit extra to it. Now I'm going to adhere all of my elements and my box together. So I've just started off with adhering that little sky piece to the background of my card, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of these layers onto these little inner pieces. So I'm just going to sort of layer them up here how I'm going to have them on my card, and see if I need to make any adjustments with the heights of each of these pieces. And so I did with the first layer, or the front layer, so I just die cut that down and then went ahead and adhered all of those pieces together. So now I've just added adhesive onto all of these different flaps onto my little die cut pieces here, and now I'm going to go ahead and fold down all of the edges that need to be folded. So I did accidentally put the tape on the wrong flap here, so I just removed that and added it to the other side, and now I'm just going in with my bone folder and I'm just scoring along all of these lines, making sure that I fold the flaps in the way that they need to go. So I want obviously the flaps to be folded out to the front of the card, so I'm folding it sort of back on itself, if that makes sense. So now I'm just removing the tape off this flap and adding it to the other side, and now I'm going to start adhering my box together. So I've just removed this one little strip of adhesive. This is just a 1/4 inch Scor Tape, and I'm just going to adhere this flat down onto that edge there, making sure it lines up perfectly, and then I'm going to pull my box out flat, and now add in these additional pieces. So I'm just adding in one of the flaps on this little short edge here and just adding those all down to the top of the box. Now I'm going to remove the other side of adhesive on those flaps, lay them down, and then fold the box back on top of itself. And I just found this is the easiest way to do it, because then you get a completely flat box when you fold it down, and there's no weird like bumps or bends or anything like that. Then I just adhered the last flap to the other side of the box itself, just laying that flat down on the tabletop to do that. Now I'm just using the jet black ink, and I'm stamping out all of the images from the Ahoy Matey stamp set, and then I'm going to Copic color them in. So I'm using Copic markers today since they are super fast and my favorite way of coloring. So to start off, I'm coloring in this little pirate's hat and pants with some C9 markers, or C markers, I'm sorry. And I started off with C9, then moved down to C7 as my medium tone, and then C3 as my lightest tone. I always love working dark to light since I find it a little bit easier and faster, and the colors blend really well this way, I find anyway. So now I'm moving on to the greens for the little trees here. So I'm just using YG17, YG23 and YG01 as my lightest shade, and I'm just blending all of those colours together. I do also use colours that I'm very familiar with to make sure that I get the best blend possible. Now for the little shirt on the pirate boy and the hat and little tie around her dress on the girl pirate, I'm just going to use some red markers. So I'm using R89, R27 and R24 as my lightest, and I also did the little flag on top of the boat as well with that red. Now for the little parrot and the sort of gold accents on the chest, I'm using some yellow markers. So I'm just using Y15, Y13 and Y11. Now for the girl pirate's dress, I'm using some blues. So I'm using B29, B26 and B24, and again those colours just blend really well together, and so that's why I'm picking colours that are also close together in the way Copics were intended to be, so with the number system. So now for the little box or the chest and the trunks of the trees, I'm using some E50 markers. So I'm using E59, E57 and then E55 as my lightest, and I'm just blending all those colours together. These are probably some of my favourite browns of all time to use. They just blend really nicely and give the perfect shade of brown. Now for the boy's hair and the little piece on top of the boat where people can stand in, I'm using some E70 markers. And then for her hair, I'm sort of going more orangey, so I'm using YR27, YR24 and YR21. And then for the bottom part of the boat and also his little peg leg and his shoe, I'm using some E50s, but the lighter E50s. And then for their skin tones and the coconuts, I'm using some E's again, so E21, E00 and E000. And then for all the gold in the chest and the gold on its own, I'm just using some YR markers. So I'm actually using YR23, then YR15, and then I'm substituting out the YR12 for the Y15 just to give it a little bit of a lighter tinge. Otherwise I felt like the colours would have been too similar. And now I'm just going ahead and using all of the coordinating dies to die cut all of my images out, and then I just need to stamp that little X marks the spot image, so I just use some lobster ink for that, and then I'm going to run all of these through my Big Shot machine. So now that all of my images are die cut, I can go ahead and sort of start assembling my box. So I'm first going to start out with stamping my sentiment and also adding some other little accents to the side of the box with some ink. So I'm using lobster ink to stamp the happy birthday, and then the black licorice ink to stamp the "You Are Awesome" sentiment. So that's the completed look for the front of the box. And now for the sides of the box, I'm going to add a little trail. So this is just a 0.5 Copic multi-liner marker, and I just had this in my stash, and that's why I decided to use it. And I'm going to add a little dotted trail on these side pieces to the X marks the spot. So I'm just sort of going around in curves and looping around, and I'm going off the edge of the piece and then continuing back on the piece to the X marks the spot piece. So I just thought this was a really fun addition to add to the sides of the box. So then I just added some Tombow Mono multi glue to the back of that little X marks the spot image and just adhered that down and added an acrylic block on top to make sure that it adheres flat. Now I'm just adding the sides of the box and the front of the box on with these little brown pieces, and I just took my fingernail and ran it across the edges of these cardstock pieces to sort of give it a little bit of a torn edge. You could definitely use a distressing tool if you would like to. I don't have one, so my fingernail worked great. Now I'm adding my little slider element into my box card. So I've just added a little bit of Scor Tape onto the back of my boat. Then I've added a little slider piece in. You could also use layers of foam tape, that could work as well. I just had these on hand, so that's what I'm using. And then I've just added a white piece of cardstock, a rectangular piece of cardstock to the back of the wave piece. And then I've just added that little boat piece on top through the little slot and pressed down with my fingers to make sure that it stays in place. So I'm really excited how that little boat moves in the sea. It looks super, super fun. Now I've just gone ahead and added all of my other images with just some more Scor Tape to my scene. So I've added the pirates and a couple of the trees in the second layer, and then the chest and the treasure in the front layer. And so that basically finishes up my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm so excited to be here for lawnfawn today. So you can see here the card all close up, the front, the sides, and that little boat moving in the background. And then you have the back of the card to write your message. I did also make a variation of this card, and I actually added a gift card holder to the back of it. So here you can see that it's the same design basically. I just changed up a few of the positions of the images, but I did use the simple gift card slot dies to create the little slots at the back of the box card and added a gift card. So I thought that would be really fun for, you know, a kid's present or something like that if you wanted to give them a gift card. I just thought that would be a really fun addition. So thank you so much for stopping by today. I really hope you enjoyed my card today. Thank you so much to Lawnfawn and Kelly for inviting me to be a guest over on your channel. All the supplies are listed below down in the description, and again, thank you so much for watching.